What's up, everybody? It's the Hardy Construction. You can find us at hardyconstruction.tumblr.com, youtube.com/hardyconstruction, as well as facebook.com/the Hardy Construction with your host, Comp. And
You Are My Priority.
today's film is...
Horsehead.
Wow. Horsehead, 2014, a film directed by Roman Bassett. Since her childhood, Jessica has been haunted by recurrent nightmares whose meanings escape her. This peculiarity has led her to study the psychophysiology... Wow, that's a big word. Of dreams and to follow
You
a
got
therapy.
it, though. I'm proud of you.
What's that? Oh, boy, I'm not
you,
reading
man.
this synopsis on IMDb. It's like fucking 5 paragraphs. Anyway, this girl
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
has a mystery that she has to solve through dreams about her family. That's what the movie's about. And she's hunted down by a horsehead man.
Is that what it's about, though?
Yes, I think... Well, I mean, that's
I'm
what...
not sure.
on the
I'm not
outset.
sure if it's really about that. I think that's kind of just like, you know, her. I think the whole movie's really just about her having a fucked up relationship with her mom and her family, and like,
Yeah, I think that
working it
plays in
out.
part of it. I think that's why she goes on this magical mystery tour, so to speak, in her own mind. So to hear us speak about this means that this film is completely abstract and artistic. It's a very art house sort of film. It's sold as a horror film. I wouldn't really call it a horror movie at all. It does have a lot of horror elements to it, visual-wise, but I think it's sort
It
of
reminds
works
me more of
against it.
like Dungeons and Dragons type of horror or
You
something.
mean Dungeons
like that
and
sort of
Dragons with Marlon Wayans and that movie, like the one that
Yes.
came out in the 2000s? Where it was
No,
like
no. I
$5?
mean, it just seems more like like fantasy feeling than like scary feeling. Like the stuff that happens, I picture like walking through like an enchanted forest or something. Like it's like that kind of thing.
To me, the whole vibe of the film felt like, oh god, who's that Italian director that you don't like? That you sort of don't like?
Argento, I do like him. I just
It felt like an extended Argento like memory sequence or a dream sequence that he does, like the whole film. And I'm sure the director's going to take that as a compliment, which I do mean as a compliment because it's a beautiful looking film, but I think it's a very artsy fartsy pretentious film. I don't think it's pretentious on purpose. I didn't take the movie as pretentious myself.
Yeah. Well,
but
it takes
other
itself
people might.
seriously for certain. So anytime a film takes itself seriously and tries to be artsy-fartsy, it risks coming off as pretentious.
Yeah, I think that's the problem, and I mean it does take itself seriously, but I mean I have issues with it, and I'm sure you have issues with it too. But in the whole scope of it, I don't think it's a bad film. I think it's bad.
No, it's fun to watch.
It's
but
an interesting film to watch.
It's
think,
not like satisfying, because it doesn't
right.
give you any answers. The plot's like barely there, and it's very, very open to interpretation. But if you're just having, smoking some weed or drinking, and you just want
exactly
to watch some weird thing.
I take it that the film is very interpretive, but I think it has its answers really laid out for it. Like you can actually tell what the movie's about. I'm assuming I know what the answers are in the film. You can't find any information really about it.
I'm curious what you think
like
because I don't even know what the questions are to know the answers.
So basically, in the gist of what I had said earlier about the film, what was your take on the movie and like what plot-wise what happens in this film? Because it doesn't seem like there's a lot of plot in this movie.
I
But
kind
to
of
you,
thought,
what was this?
I mean, the idea of this daughter who doesn't talk to her family. I guess her family's rich or something, and she's going back because the grandma died. And I kind of took it as, at first anyway, I thought the way it was going to go was like the grandma was haunting trying to get some message out through her dreams, like communicating with her, trying to get a message out to her that like some horrible fucked up thing happened in their family history that's a secret, and
Right.
they never really, and they kind of touch on it, but they never really tell you. There's no like resolution. Like it never tells you what it is. Like I was thinking by the end, like she's gonna be like, "Grandpa killed Grandma and raped you" or something.
I think there was a resolution, but then there's nothing after the resolution. There's no real like secondary.
Like the mom never even like
into the
admits.
sentence.
Like she's saying something about stabbing her in the stomach and stuff. Like I kind of got the idea that maybe the grandpa was like this insane person that like aborted the mom's
Right.
baby and like raped her and all these horrible things, but you never it never says it, and you never know if it's true or not, or I don't know if that's just me looking for something in there.
The film sort of has this little Nemo in Slumberland with mother issues kind of thing, where a girl's able to jump around and figure out in real time stuff that happened in her to her mother and her grandmother, because the whole impetus of this situation is that her grandmother has passed away. She's never really had a relationship with her grandmother. Well, the only time, I think, the last time she had spoken to her or seen her grandmother is when her grandfather had passed away, who I think was a real, asshole to everybody in the family. She has an ice-cold relationship with her mother.
And her mother's so annoying.
Yeah, her mother's sort of this ice queen. Let's get who's playing Lily Fleur-Pontiac. I can't say her name right. It plays Jessica. There's Catriona McCall as Caitlin, who's the mother.
And she was in City of the Living Dead. I'm looking at her IMDb right now. That's pretty cool.
Was she the one that puked up the guts in the car? Because that'd be awesome. Unless she was the girlfriend.
Mary Woodhouse. I don't know. I actually don't know the names of the characters in that movie. It's been a while, but that would be awesome if she was.
What happens is the mother's mother, who was the grandmother, who's Rose, has passed away, and they're having a wake. I guess they leave the body. What part of Europe did you know where this was shot at? Because I have no idea. The IMDb says nothing in this.
I kind of got the impression maybe they were Irish or something.
Oh, really? I thought it was Europe. It's shot in France. So.
Oh, okay.
Shot in Paris, France. So it was Europe. Which I don't understand, because her mother's
United Kingdom is near.
Her mother's English, right? Her mother's English. Her mother's English, and she sort of has a French accent, which didn't make any sense. But then again, I actually know an English girl who speaks French as well, because her father's French and her mother's English. So it's I guess it does exist since they're so close to each other. So she goes and the grandmother's body is kind of laid up in this bed in the opposite room of Jessica.
Isn't that freaky?
Yeah, I think so.
That whole idea.
Wakes and stuff, or?
Well, wakes, especially you Christian people would showing a body on display, but to keep it
Catholic,
in the house
I'm
like
not
that.
Christian. I'm
whatever
Catholic,
you are. To keep the body on display is the freakiest thing. Yeah, Jews don't do that. They put it in a fucking box, and you just have to trust that the body's in there or something.
Yeah, trust the body's what? That somebody takes.
Well, I mean, is that who the hell wants to look at some fucking made up sewed version of your family? That's so freaky to me. I don't get it.
I don't know. I think it's obviously that's all old world traditions. It's with the Jews, they burn the body they bury the body within 24 hours, don't they? So it's which I think actually makes more sense.
They put it in wood that will just rot. The whole point is go back into the earth, not fill it with
Yeah, I didn't mean to say they burn
chemicals.
the body. I meant they bury the body, right? Yeah, which makes I think makes more sense than actually.
Since the 1940s, they put it in a stove after it died.
Jesus Christ! But so looking over a dead body, I don't understand it. It's very frightening and it's unnerving. But I guess it's a whole thing that reminds you that nothing lasts forever, and it's a very sobering kind of image, and you're supposed to. But there's a whole bunch of other things in the Catholic Spanish sort of thing where people will have prayers. I guess the prayers 3 or 5 days straight. They'll take an hour or 2 hours to pray over the not where the body is, but because my family doesn't hang out with the body in the house or anything.
Yeah, I guess that's the same thing. That's the Shiva for Jews.
Yeah, right. So you're praying and but you had a whole bunch of sandwiches and all that. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, well, really,
no, it wasn't.
If you're not
sorry,
super
I'm really
religious,
sorry
it's really
to think
just
about
an excuse to drink and eat.
I just realized how horribly shitty what I just said, that there was sandwiches.
No,
that was a tragic thing.
It's fine.
Yeah, you should have sandwiches anyway, but still, Jesus Christ, what a horrible world we live in.
If only we could have sandwiches without people dying.
Yeah, I know, right? Could you imagine if you bought if you bought that spread, you're
anytime you buy a sandwich, someone somewhere is gonna die.
It's weird that if you were to buy just that sandwich by yourself, you're a glutton and a pig. But if somebody passes away, then all of a sudden it makes
you're
sense.
Grieving. You're grieving.
You're grieving your waistline if you buy it.
Part of the grief process is just like drinking and eating sandwiches.
Yeah, right. Pretty much. So I guess in this tradition, this French tradition, or whatever this family's tradition, I guess they are Christian, I would assume, because there is heavy Jesus imagery and there's crosses. I don't really know the difference. All I remember is growing up. This is going to become like a religion episode for some reason. But growing up, I always heard the difference between Catholic and Christians is that Catholics are like really bling bling gold, break out the money. They have like statues and everything, and Christians are more like the low sort of.
Well, I think Christian is just like a blanket term for like a lot of different things, and Catholics.
But they are certainly separate, though. That they're definitely separate in there.
Catholics like I guess the biggest. I don't know.
Catholics are more like
it's one denomination of like the hundreds of denominations, but it happens to be the biggest one.
Right. Catholics are about. I think Christians are actually bigger than Catholics, but I can't be sure. But Catholics are more about the theatrics. You know what I mean? They're more about showing all this stuff that's going on. I don't know what part. I assume this is more of a Christian thing. I have no clue what their denomination in the film is, and it's not necessarily specified, but it certainly is either Catholic or Christian.
Yeah, Catholicism is a denomination subset of Christianity. So
okay,
yeah, Christianity is like the blanket term for Jesus.
So obviously, Jessica has an icy cold relationship with her mother, and that's not really it sort of is gotten into. I'm gonna break down what I think happens in the film. So I think what it is that Jessica, when she's in this house, she's obviously does not feel well that she's in a room, opposite of a dead person who's laid down in the bed with, the coins over the eyes and all that shit. She starts getting into these lucid dreams, and she's been having strange dreams, or she's interested in these dreams after listening to this guy named Winston. I think it was Professor Winston, who sounds like Malcolm McDowell. I mean, I think if they probably added $1 more to the amount of the actor that they use, they could have just got Malcolm McDowell too.
Yeah, he'll be in anything basically.
But well, anyway, this guy has an awesome voice, and he's kind of spouting off, probably Wikipedia entries on dream, lucid dreaming and stuff like that, and it's interesting. It gives you a nice little gateway into jumping in and out of dreams, and it sort of sets up the whole.
I didn't know this was going to be about lucid dreaming, which is a topic that interests me, so that's cool.
Yeah, it sort of sets up that whole. What was that? Leonardo DiCaprio jumping into dreams.
No, that one's stupid.
You didn't like that movie?
Dreams. No, I don't. I think because
I enjoyed that movie.
The reason I don't like it is because everybody makes it seem like it's like this unique, amazing Inception. It's called it's like Inception. So smart and groundbreaking. No, it's not. Like this shit has been like in movies and stuff forever. Like this is not a new concept made up by like Leonardo DiCaprio or something.
My only real deal with that movie, Inception, was that for dreams, it was probably the worst interpretations of dreams I've ever seen in my life. Like usually dreams, a lot of weird shit happens, and it felt like these were probably the most boring people in the world that they were having dreams about. Like nothing fantastical besides some set pieces where like the rooms are like moving around in circles and shit like that, and it just kind of seemed like these people had pedestrian dreams, like regular life dreams. Like you dream.
There's a movie called Dreams that's by a Japanese guy.
Was it about Martin Luther King or
what? Shut up.
Go ahead.
No, it's. I think it's just the movie's called Dreams, and it's
Japanese
Akira Kurosawa. Kurosawa Dreams.
And so they're like 10-year-old girls with their panties exposed and talking cats?
Well, they had vending machines, but the vending machines were all free. Like, you just press the button and they come.
Oh! And they'll just...
that's like just weird, trippy dreams. Like, dreams are... I don't know. I hate the idea that people think they could interpret dreams.
Right. I mean, I've had a lot of strange dreams. Some stuff I won't even get into because it probably...
The whole topic... I mean, the reason we're going on such tangents with this movie is because it's like... a movie.
It does
about
open questions.
That
It does make you think about your own dreams. I actually had I felt really awful in the middle of the movie. But I'll get to that. But anyway, so she starts to get into this kind of MacGuffin sort of project where the younger version of her grandmother visits her in her dreams, or these semi-nightmare kind of dreams, and tells her to search for a key, and she's like looking through her notes, and apparently her grandmother committed suicide by jumping out of a window, and she's like in her late 80s or something like that, or late 70s, and she had written all these notes, and she's actually a pretty good artist, I would say. She had an interesting style of artwork that you can tell it was a production crew that did it. And her grandmother killed herself, and I guess she had a pretty tempestuous relationship with the father, who was the grandfather, who had died as well.
I guess he's like a demon or something. It seems like it.
Yeah, their assholery went onto the mother, who's now passing it on to the daughter, who kind of is, reasonably why she doesn't really hang out with her family. And so this whole leads through these dreams that she's going through, and there's all this kind of fancy sort of bullshittery where there's a wolf that leads her around in the dreams, and it's like literally, it really is a wolf that's walking around, and then she's supposedly
and horses
hunted down.
that have giant keys that they stab you with and shit.
Right, she's hunted down by the titular horsehead guy, who I wanted to like, but I kind of wasn't really impressed by his design. Like when they show him up close from far away, he looks pretty awesome. But he sort of feels, to me in this film, he sort of feels like a low-rate version of Frank
Gozu?
the Bunny from Donnie Darko. You know how like Frank the
okay.
Bunny from Donnie Darko?
Yeah, I know Frank the Bunny.
Yeah, like.
Well, you know what the difference is with Frank the Bunny? It's like more nightmarish because you only see it like in little glimpses,
Yeah, to me the biggest upset in that
film.
It's like a
mystery.
Yeah, I love Donnie Darko. The biggest upset to me is when they actually show Frank take his mask off and you find out who he is. That part I was like,
right.
You should have just left him as like some sort of quasi weird
No,
ghost.
but that's what makes it so like that. Like kind of cinches it all as like this.
Right,
crazy
it does.
travel.
But to me, it's still I was like, oh fuck, you know what I mean? If he was just walking around the Halloween party and you just saw him,
But the
and
thing
you never
that's so
see his
cool
face.
about it is it's a normal guy who now like.
Right. I get
ghost.
that. I get that. I think to me, it just kind of took away from the mystical. I mean, the whole fucking film was mystical, Donnie Darko, but that kind of took away from me, and it sort of happens here where it's this horsehead guy, but he's not doing anything other than kind of creeping around in the shadow. He's sort of like a third-rate Freddy Krueger, apparently this creature who can kill you in your dreams. He's dressed up like a bishop. I like the idea of him, but I don't think the execution
it's
of
all
him is really
cool
that
visuals. Like there's a lot of cool visuals and like loose concepts, but the movie, it's.
I don't think it
like
really can sustain itself.
It's like eye candy. I really like the lighting. Actually, the lighting's great.
I think I like the
red.
lighting, but as a technical guy, it looks like it's shot on DSLR. Like you could tell it's shot with a little kind of photo camera instead of a big camera, and I might be wrong. Maybe it's a different kind of camera.
I mean, you know more about that kind of stuff than I know, so if you got that impression, then
trust me, I'm not really any better than you with this stuff.
But what do you
my
say?
my eye sort of
and everything. It's cool.
My eye sort of notices, and it's not the fault of the fucking director and the crew. I mean, they had to work with what they have. But I think if this guy had the budget of, say, what was that movie with Jennifer Lopez where she had to go into this guy's dream? Yeah, if she had the money of Cell, the director had the money of Cell, I think this would be a completely different looking film, because obviously this guy has a vision, an artistic vision, but it's severely.
I think they did a lot with
what they
awesome sets and like cool visuals and shit.
Right, the budget is severely limited. I think it goes beyond it's totally under what this guy probably visualized in his head. I'm sure he had a lot more ideas that they just couldn't do just for the budgetary reasons, which is fine because the movie still looks very gorgeous, I think.
And they got these. It was too long though, honestly. The type of movie
I think
like
so.
This.
This is a movie that you can do for an hour.
The girl though, I know I said already, but she's so hot.
She's beautiful, right? Yeah, Lily Fleur. I was wondering during the movie. It's a very shitty thing to think, but I was like, have you ever had a relationship, even made out with a girl or had sex with a girl that looked like her, like in your?
No, I haven't.
Because then I started ranking the girls that I've been with in my head, like and I'm sure I'm probably the last on their list. But like, if you
I'm
looking
not
at them,
in a place to judge. I mean, I've been with very pretty girls, but
me too.
This is like a whole other level that isn't achievable in real life.
I'm sure to other white people, she probably just looks like a generic white girl. She does look like a generic white woman, but she,
No, she
has
is
very
like
pretty. You know,
she's like the perfect example of the type of girl that she is.
you think what's that? Like she looks like the type
Like
that
some
will.
like European blonde.
Yeah, okay, I get it. But you're like a
pale
Europhile,
skinned
right?
girl.
You're like a
What?
Europhile. You're a Europhile. Like you love
Yes.
European women and life and all that stuff.
I mean, I love all types of ethnicities and stuff, but as far
me
as
too.
like a white European girl, this is the best version of
I've
it
never dated. Well, I have
of
dated
a
a white
blonde,
girl.
fair haired, fair skinned girl. This is the best.
I have dated a white girl, yes. So sort of. There was sex involved, but it was it's more. I've dated more like I think I've dated every race. I'm pretty sure, except for Indian girls, which are very pretty. That's your other like obsession, right?
I love
for you.
Indian girls. If anybody's listening,
Very racist. So I'm just kidding.
I'm saying a good thing.
This girl looks like the type of girl who would like read Gawker.com with you, and then would talk about her day at the gallery, and then you.
I
Watch,
would like to comfort
Netflix
her if
all
she's
night,
having
right?
a bad nightmare.
It's just a dream. So
You know what I'd love to do? I'd love to like wake her up dressed in a horse head mask, like holding like a key knife.
Yeah, I can't imagine women listen to this podcast. No wonder they drop off. So she,
None that
the
would
whole
have sex with us.
the whole point of this film is basically Jessica trying to figure out this grand mystery that has to deal with her grandmother compelling her beyond through time and space and dreams to find this key. Why the grandmother didn't just say, "Hey, look, you had a sister who was killed in the womb."
No,
And
but there's no
I
key.
buried her body in the house. That's what
I think the key
grandmother
is
could've just
symbolic.
said.
I don't think it's a real key.
No, I know that. I'm just saying that's what I think the key was to unlock. I mean, to kill the horse.
Her
man, whatever
memories
the fuck it
or
is.
the secrets of the
Yeah,
family.
yeah. It's like
or
to
whatever.
unlock the door of her mind. It's one of those.
So there
things.
really
Although
was a
it's-
ghost grandma communicating with her.
I would think so because she knows stuff, and obviously when she would say this information,
But she was
to her
also looking
grandma-
through the
to
grandma's
mother.
books and stuff. So it's like maybe when you're lucid dreaming, like you can pull shit out of your subconscious that like
Right.
you would never remember.
Yeah,
So
but
she
I mean,
could have
this
looked at
is-
like a
these are-
thing in her. What?
I would assume that these are all lives and things that happened that she was never a part of, and this information was never given to her. So that's why her mother's always like, "Oh shit," her mother's like, "Oh, how'd you know that? How'd you know this?" That kind of
Right.
thing. Her mother's dating
I
this
mean,
guy.
I kind of agree with you. I do think that maybe there was like some influence, like supernatural, but
yeah,
they
they
never explain it.
No, they
and then
don't.
she
It's
had
bullshit.
blood on her stomach, and I thought that was the needle stabbing through the pregnancy thing.
It was. I think that's exactly what it was. It's a whole supernatural element. It's dreams. That's how they explain it. It's dreams. I'm sure the director does that with his hands outspread. Because
Yeah,
it's dreams.
it's
That's how he
dreams.
explains it. So the mother has a relationship with a guy named Jim, who I guess is a stepfather or her boyfriend. I don't know how he puts up with Caitlin because she's like a fucking bitch in this movie. She just kind
She
of
really
comes off
is
as complete. Maybe
horrible.
she's really nice when the daughter's not around, but she just comes off as an asshole. If my girlfriend was like a real asshole to her kid, I'd be like, oh, I mean, he does for the most part kind of stay out of the way. Like he kind of shuts up because I mean, who are you really to say anything between a mother and her daughter? But I'd be like, why don't you
He
just,
does
like,
at one
calm down?
point call her a real cunt, but I think that's a dream.
I like the way he said it with that real nice accent. He's like, she's a proper cunt. The way they do it, and he has a face and everything. It was great. He's a very nice guy. But at
Yeah.
first, it seems like he looks at her lecherously. Like he looked like he was trying to have sex with her. But then you do see that he's more like he's affectionate towards her. Like he cares about her for some reason. And then there's some random guy that like works
the
at the
butler.
house. Yeah, George. He has like a cool accent. And he's not really.
I actually like him. Like he's like my favorite character.
Really? Because he's like the one with
he's
the
like-
least screen time.
He's like a normal. Well, I mean, besides the main girl, but he's like
He's
a
basically
normal,
like a sea captain
friendly
that
person.
works at the house. And he's like a sea captain. He's like, that kind of. My thing, the worst thing in this film was that fucking the guy who
The
played
voice.
the father. Yeah, the guy's voice in the movie. I was like, oh brother. I think it was the father. I guess the grandfather. I don't know. I can't take the name.
It was the
name out
grandpa.
right now.
It was the grandpa.
Yeah, the grandpa. He's played by a young guy. He's like a handsome-looking guy. He looks like the Crow or something. And they dub his voice to give him like this evil, demonic voice, but it only comes off as like really laughable. Like it's really bad to me, at least.
Yeah.
I was like, what? I was like, because he's like, before this is, and I can't even do the voice, but it's just like this deep kind of octave.
And
when I was like,
watch out for what you are doing.
Watch out! And like, what the fuck? This Sunday, big wheel.
It's like
taking on
what's his face? James Bond guy.
Blofeld.
No, you know James Bond, the old James Bond, who's also in Indiana Jones.
Who are you talking about? The old James Bond?
Sean
Sean
it sounds
Connery?
like Sean Connery, but with his voice more demonic.
I tried to make your mother get rid of you. That kind of voice.
Yeah, like,
you know who
I
he sounded like to
tried
me?
to make
Because
you-
the voice is so affected and it has such special effects on it. I assume maybe the guy doesn't have special effects voice like that.
There's no way
It's-
that that's his voice.
To me, it sounded no. It was obviously somebody's voicing him. I might have gotten the credit wrong with Winston as the voice. That might be him. But anyway, I think to me it sounded like the voice from the record that they played at the movie The Gate. Remember when they played that record?
The backwards record.
It was like a guy going beyond time, and I was like, this sounds like the Gate voice. Like it just sounds like a rock and roll metal voice for no reason. And it's really awful. Like it's really horrible.
It
And he looks
doesn't
like
fit in
that's what he
this
looks like. He
movie.
looks like it looks like Jack White from the White Stripes. Like he just walked
And stuff
into
like
this
that
movie.
has no excuse because it's like it doesn't require a budget to like have a sound guy make a voice sound more like this versus this, like
Right,
just
or make
fucking
him look
tweak
like
it.
make him look like an old man, so that voice looks familiar. Because if it's just regularly him, he just looks like an asshole, like with a horrible voice. It just doesn't seem right. It doesn't, you know what I mean? Which is
Even
fine.
if it was coming from like a demon, it would not sound right because it's a silly voice.
It is a very silly voice. Let's talk about the visuals of the film. The visuals are really beautiful looking. Like I said before, I think
Yeah.
there's a
No,
lot
it's
of
all
close-ups.
it's all good, but they
It
could have
needed a
done
lot.
more.
It needed more wide shots for some reason. Like I think it needed more establishing shots. But the one
There's
part that
just
had
too
me
much
laughing.
repetition. The movie, there's no reason for it to go on as long as it does.
Yeah,
if they
yeah,
had
it
more
should have been
budget, they
cut
could
by
have
half, yeah.
done more stuff.
Yeah, there was one part where that I thought, you know, when she's in the bathtub and she's taking a bath and she's topless and everything, and I was like, wow, this is really. It didn't feel like over sexualized. It just looked like a girl in the bathtub, and it was shot so beautifully. I was like, wow, this is like a classy imagery, like art, you know. And then as soon as I literally said that, I was like, wow, this is like really beautiful looking. As soon as that happened, her grandmother shows up naked behind her, like a young grandmother,
making out with her.
doing lesbian shit. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, where'd this come from? I was like, oh, not like way to
I
cheapen
never
it.
mind seeing
Yeah, you know, I
a
didn't think it was
grandma
bad, but
and a
I thought
hot
it sort
girl
of
making out.
it sort of took the winds out of like this is a classy imagery to like okay, now that we're here to like titillate you, which is nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. but, you
Titillate,
know.
get it?
Oh yeah, that what? Anyway, and then there's also a scene where she's making out with her mother, and there's like a whole bunch of shit. So apparently, this is what the gist of the film is. The mother's a really good actor too, but that's very disturbing when she's making out with her mom. Apparently, the mother was pregnant unknowingly with twins, I assume, and her father, who was like a hardcore religious dude, put pins in her belly to kill the fetus, but I think it only killed one fetus. That's why
I don't
it
know
came
if he
out.
actually did that or if that's just like symbolic of he maybe killed the baby or something.
Well, something had to happen where there was like I don't think if she would have had to get an abortion, then I'm sure they would have gotten rid of both babies. So I assume the pins thing was real. And ever since that day, the mother, I guess, resented her child or acted like she did. Although, you know, when she gave birth to her, she seemed like she was very happy, which made me feel really sad at the scene because it made me, like, if you really sit back and think about, because this is like an issue with people have with their mothers. There's a lot of people that have issues with their fathers and their mothers, obviously, because, you know, nobody's perfect. Yeah. And however we act, we totally are dicks to our parents or we're dicks to our kids. And I felt so bad about watching the scene where she gives birth to the kid. And you look at, you know, childbirth on film, and I was like, can you imagine that's what our mothers did for us, too? And I feel like I just instantly felt
My
bad.
mom reminds me of it all the time. She talks about back labor and shit. It's a Jewish guilt thing.
Yeah, well, that's true. But I literally felt so bad because I was like, I had spoken to my mom last week, and I was like arguing with her. And then I was like, oh man, this woman.
You son of a bitch.
They could have literally put a vacuum in themselves and sucked us right out of them, you know. But they chose to keep us for whatever reason.
They chose to go through like 8 hours of pain.
So yeah, I love
You know
my
what?
mom.
I had a kidney stone, so I don't give a
Yeah.
shit. No, I do. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mom. Thank you.
Thank you, mommy. But I love in this film how they have this wolf that leads her around, and you know how, like, I guess they didn't have the proper training to make a wolf. I guess you can't train a wolf to die on camera, so they use a lot of, like, real obvious camera effects where the cameras will rewind so it looks like the dog falls down. It's so fucking funny, but that's just because
Right.
because I'm an asshole, because I can never enjoy a movie now without seeing the errors in it. But that was like classic.
You're an asshole with everything. It's not
That's
just
true.
movies.
It was classically funny where she's the dog, like it's obviously rewinding so you can see the dog die, but it's just the dog probably eating a bone off camera and stuff like that. So the whole thing at the end, I think what happens is that she's pregnant herself. The doctor, has done a blood test on her earlier in the film. This goofy doctor has said that she's pregnant, and it's kind of like this cycle. It's the whole thing about cycles and happening over again. So she's pregnant by God knows who's, by some fucking DJ she met at an EDM concert.
Why you assume that she goes to EDM concerts?
She's young, white, European. Come on.
Okay.
So she's pregnant, and at the end, I think she's in. I never felt like there was any real danger in the movie, except for the part when the ether falls down on the bed and like it's dripping on the bed. Like I thought she might die in that part. Didn't really feel like there was
as long
any...
as she doesn't hold it to her face, she won't die.
Because in my head, I'm thinking, oh, this is just her in dreams. You know what I mean? Like, what could happen to her if she's just having dreams? And I never felt there was a real danger except for that ether part. Although, another funny thing, another thing about ether itself, an ether in the African-American community is when somebody insults someone so bad, they use the term, they ethered you. That means it knocks you out. Like, they insulted you so bad, you've been ethered.
I have never heard that in my life.
Yeah, that's I hang out with the African American community and the minorities because I myself am a minority. So
well, you are a minority.
So as an alternate
do you know
in this
film,
film,
Rosemary's Baby miniseries. I'm sorry, go on.
Yeah, I know. That's why I forgot to mention that in the other thing. So I thought, as an alternate, instead of that ether, they should have just had like a random black guy insult her, and then she would have been knocked out. And then
right.
That was a long way to go for a joke. Anyway,
they
so
should have had like Kid and Play come out and insult her.
Kid and Play. I can't believe I've actually seen some of those movies, but they were actually pretty funny.
I've seen all of them.
That movie, I think, actually originated the phrase "that ass" because a very humorous part.
You know what? Props to that movie then.
You know that there was I think it was House Party 3, and there was a scene where they were trying to watch. They were having like a bachelor party for Kid, who was the kid with the big high top haircut, and they're gonna bring a porno, just to play it on the screen. And apparently, they mixed up the tapes because the other sub story of the film is this grandmother was watching over some kids or something, and she ends up getting the porno film. So when the guys in the party, it's like a funny black comedy. It's so stupid. So they put the tape on. They're like, oh yeah, we're gonna watch it, and they're watching Ninja Turtles Part 1. And then in her house, somebody calls the grandmother. They're like, Grandma, what's going on? She goes, what you doing? I'm watching that ass. Because then you see like a black guy having sex with a woman, and she's holding a banana.
It's so stupid.
Oh man, that movie's fucking funny. I gotta watch those movies. Anyway, they actually made up to 5 House Party movies. Can you imagine? Anyway, so with this film, I think the resolution is that she has mother issues, and then she symbolically, her mother kills her, and she kills her mother. And because she finds out that her sister Lucy, who was killed in the womb, the body was buried in the house, and I think the grandmother...
You got a lot out of this than I did.
Well, that's what happens in the movie. It's clear, I
I
guess.
couldn't follow it.
So I think at the very end, she absorbs her sister, because, when she's hugging her sister, who's like a twin, and her sister's eyes were black, and she gives her a hug, and in real life, she's dying in her family's arms while the cops, while they're waiting for the doctor.
Okay, so that was her twin sister. I wasn't sure. I didn't.
Yeah, because I think it was.
I
assume it was the same actress playing her twin sister. It looked like the same actress, and they didn't show the thing.
Two girls like that. That doubles my odds of.
No, you
maybe,
could tell the budget when they just show them by their backs. You never see their faces in the frame at the same time. They couldn't do that bad split down the middle, like in bad movies, like South Park did,
right.
like great. When they had two compartments and they still did a line in the middle of the screen, so it looked like it was like bad editing. So she does absorb her sister at the end because you can tell on her left eye the pupil starts going black, just like her dead sister. But they held on to it way too long. I was like, oh, okay, because I think, yeah, like you said, it was about a half an hour too long, this film.
Yeah, it really
with
was.
all the visual stuff. And I think, which is, I understand if it's a real beautiful looking film, but there wasn't enough set pieces to kind of go that route that it was so beautiful. Because basically the whole thing of the film was her going into sleep, her telling her mother, then going back to sleep. Her telling her mother, going back to sleep. It's that kind of thing. And it's like, all right, I get it. You know, I mean, you could have done this, cut a whole 45 minutes or half an hour out of this movie without doing that bullshit. So
this would have been better as like a short film, honestly.
Right. It actually looks like sequences out of a music video. It seems like
But
they
it
had
is. I mean, it is cool. It is.
It's a cool film. It is.
People
but I
are
don't think
ripping it from the few things they saw.
They really are. Like, it's got a 4-point rating on IMDb.
Which I don't get that.
I think those are horror fans. I think those were horror fans expecting a Lucio Fulci or who's the other guy? I keep forgetting his fucking name. Italian director. Argento film. I think that's what they're expecting because the trailer's cut like a horror movie.
They need to accept that, you know, it's a different type of movie. Like,
yeah, it certainly is. I think the problem was selling it as a horror film because it does have horrific imagery, but the only thing horrific was that guy's voice. I would give this movie. Visually, it's definitely an 8 type of film. But as a film itself, I'd give it a 6. So I would give it a 6 out of 10. Now I'm going to be like you fucking every other week where I can't think of one thing to pick out.
I could do my rating while you think if
Go
you
ahead.
want. Okay, because I got mine already. I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. Making out with your sexy mom, and then,
Yikes.
you know, as she gives you, like, dominatrix-like commands to put your hands behind your back.
Also, what was up with that faceless man having sex with the mother? Remember that part? It was like it reminded me of Jacob's Ladder. I think that might have been
supposed to be the grandpa. Like maybe the grandpa raped her. That's where I got that idea in my head. Okay, so what's your rating? So I give 7 out of 10.
I still couldn't come up with anything. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. This fucking movie. 6 out of 10 side story where a stepfather walks around trying to figure things out where he's actually absolutely nothing integral to the plot. So with that, Danny, what's the final word?
Isotrope.
The horror deconstruction.